In this city, everyone is Russian, almost everyone.
Are they offended for being Russian?
No, that doesn't happen. Well, maybe once in a while.
They used to stay here and were given an apartment, and many people moved between the regions of the Soviet Union looking for new and better opportunities.
Yes, there are people who like Stalin and Lenin.
The security was very good. It shouldn't have been closed.
Well, back on the road again. After visiting the Cold War Museum, the one about nuclear missiles, I'm now heading towards Kaunas. It's about 200 and something kilometers from where the museum was, and this is a city that's already closer to Vilnius, the capital. It's also a pretty big city. I stopped there to eat some typical Lithuanian food. Since I arrived here in the Baltic countries, the hottest thing I'd eaten was a hot dog from a gas station and a coffee, and the rest was bananas, almonds, bread, cheese, and cold cuts. So this meal really hit the spot. It was a soup that looked radioactive, like it came out of a nuclear silo. It had this bright pink neon color, but it was really good. It was a beet soup with kefir and herbs, a cold soup, kind of like Lithuanian gazpacho. Then, for the second course, I had some things called cepelin. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but it reminded me of cepelin. Covered with potato and bacon fat, and inside ground meat, minced meat. Well, that's it, Kaunas, in and out. I was looking for a campsite because I really need to take a shower. I've got sand coming out of my ears, and I also need to charge all the batteries, the laptop, the drone, and that's it. I wasn't really convinced by the campsites there, so I'm heading to my next destination, which is on the border with Belarus and Poland. About Kaunas, from the little I've seen, well, it's a city that's a mix of modern, with some really nice buildings, nice houses, and here and there some old wooden ones. And then, in the suburbs, I did see the typical buildings from the Soviet era, but that's about it. Honestly, I haven't had much time to see more. Maybe next time, Kaunas. As is usual in the Baltic countries, finding remnants of the Soviet period is quite difficult. However, if you want to see some of the few remaining relics from the Soviet period in Lithuania, there's Grutas Park, which is located practically on the border with Belarus and Poland. This is where I am and where I've come. I want to see what this museum is like, and the thing is, I didn't expect it to cost money. So, I imagined it was an open-air park so that people could see it for free. And it seems like it costs money, so let's see, depending on how much it is. I'll decide whether to see it or not, because if it's pretty expensive, I think I read that it costs 12 euros. Well, I'll leave. I'll get in the car and head to the capital, because to see statues of Lenin for 12 euros, I've already seen too many in my life. And well, anyway, I'll leave you the information, okay?
Hello.
Hello.
How much is the ticket?
12 euros.
How long does it take to visit everything?
2 hours. 2 hours?
2 hours? Do you also speak Russian?
We can speak in Russian.
What do you have here?
2 monument circuits, 3 museums, a zoo, an amusement park, and a cafe.
What kind of tourists visit the park?
All kinds. From Latvia, Italy, Spain.
And Russians, Belarusians?
Russians don't come anymore. I think they're not allowed to come, so there aren't any now.
And what do the Lithuanian people think about this museum?
This is our history, and everyone comes here to see this part of our history.
I've read that there are many people here who can't stand the Soviet period.
There are all kinds of people, those who like it and those who don't.
Are there people who like it?
Yes, there are people who like Stalin and Lenin.
Do you think people lived better in Soviet times?
I don't care. The important thing is that I have a job. I don't get involved in politics, I don't care.
You're the first person I've seen around here who speaks Russian.
We all speak Russian.
But the young people don't, right?
The young people don't, but my generation, we all speak it.
Now we speak Polish, Russian, English, Lithuanian, 4 languages.
But in English, I only know how to say, the ticket is 12 euros.
An interesting fact that caught my attention is that Lithuania, among the Baltic countries, is the only Catholic country. The other two are Lutheran. And the Catholic tradition during Soviet times was very deeply rooted. In fact, one of the publications that lasted the longest underground during Soviet times here in Lithuania was a Catholic religious publication. Also, as you travel across the country, you will see wooden crosses placed on the sides of the road. During Soviet times, a phenomenon occurred in the middle of Lithuania. In the forest, on a hill, people began to place wooden crosses, known as the Hill of Crosses. Today, it has more than 100,000, or even hundreds of thousands. Even Pope John Paul II went to visit it once the Soviet Union fell, and that's it. Now I've set course for the capital, to Vilnius. This lady I spoke with at the ticket office of the Grutas Park Museum made me curious to learn more about Russian minorities. Just so you get an idea, in the Baltic countries, Lithuania has the lowest percentage of Russian ethnicity among its population, 5%, while Estonia and Latvia have more than 20%. So, let's go to Vilnius, and after that, in search of the lost ethnicity, the Russian ethnicity, let's see how they live nowadays. In the days from January 11th to 13th, 1991, what had been brewing for almost a decade in the three Baltic states finally happened here in Lithuania. As if it were a relay race, the three Baltic states had been pushing for independence since Gorbachev's arrival and the opening with Glasnost. On January 11th, 1991, the Soviet army entered Lithuania after the unilateral declaration of independence. The first objective was to storm the television and radio stations behind me here, with the purpose of shutting down all communications, and then to storm the parliament and depose the government. Well, those days are kept in the collective memory of Lithuanians as a heroic feat that allowed them to take a giant step toward their independence. And that's because during the entry of the Soviet army into Lithuania, unarmed groups of people confronted them and did not let them carry out their tasks. In the example of the tower, they positioned themselves down here, blocking the way. The same thing happened with the parliament, where they set up a huge barricade, and not only in the parliament, but all across the country, so that the Soviet army would withdraw and couldn't get in, and indeed that's what they achieved. Later, the Soviet Union would dissolve and the Baltic countries would be the first to be recognized as independent states. Good morning from the outskirts of Visaginas, the city that was specially created to house the workers of the Ignalina nuclear power plant. Today, this nuclear power plant is being dismantled by the European Union and the Lithuanian state. And you can't get in unless you book a private tour months in advance. So there's a tip for you. If you're interested, you can visit a Soviet-era nuclear plant that looks a lot like Chernobyl and was once one of the top energy producers. I'm going to try to get a little closer to see if I can spot the plant. The thing is, since it's a sensitive facility, I don't know if I'll be able to record or take pictures. But anyway, the idea behind this video was also to meet the people and the population of the city of Visaginas, which is mostly Russian. They are workers who came here from all over Russia to Lithuania to work at the nuclear plant. And today, even though Lithuania is no longer part of the Soviet Union, they are still here. Let's learn a little more about the Russian ethnic group in the Baltic countries. Hello, what do you have here?
Everything you see.
Do you grow it yourself?
Yes.
Yes, that's fine. I'll take the strawberries.
1 box
Yes, one. That's €4.80, right?
per kilo.
Per kilo.
I'll do €5 for you, okay?
That's fine. Are you from around here?
No, I'm from Utena.
Utena. But are you Russian?
No, Lithuanian.
Lithuanian. And where can I find Russians?
In this city, everyone is Russian. Almost everyone. You can speak to them in Russian. All of this used to be forest before until they built the nuclear power plant.
It's okay, thank you. I'll keep looking.
Thank you. Have a good day.
I stopped to buy some strawberries and I just happened to meet one of the few people here who isn't Russian. Well, let's keep searching. Walking through the center of Visaginas, I arrived at this huge square that's under reconstruction. And here you have the mosaic, the man and the elements, a metaphor for the union between man and the chemical elements, which refers to the nuclear power plant. And behind me, we have what used to be a Soviet fountain that's under renovation. The mosaic is the work of Viktor Tatarenko, who was famous for his works, for his murals and mosaics throughout the Soviet Union. And this is the first mosaic I've seen during my stay in the Baltic countries. Now the space is occupied by a wine shop and you can barely see it in its entirety. Excuse me, sir, may I ask you a question? Where can I find the Russians?
I am Russian. In 1975, the construction of the city began, especially for the people of the nuclear power plant. Which came first, the city or the power plant?
The city came first.
They built the city and at the same time the power plant as well, everything related to the power plant's service.
You live here, right?
Yes.
Has it been a long time or since the start?
No, since the year 1985.
And now that the plant is closed, what future is there?
They're going to be dismantling it until the year 2038.
It's not something that can be done quickly. It requires detailed handling. And for now, the city is still alive. We'll see what we do later on. They're under renovation.
I see this fountain is from Soviet times, right?
Yes, although it was a different one, it looks similar, but it's not the same. It was lower.
The sun fountain, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Where are you from?
From Spain?
There's a stone down there. As you go down, you'll see it ahead.
They put it there in August of 1975, when they started building the city.
And the clock that's there, was it to measure radiation?
No, it showed the weather and the time. Did it show the Roentgen level?
I don't remember. At the plant it did. Here, I don't know.
Weren't you afraid to live near the plant after what happened in Chernobyl? Yes.
No, I spent years working there.
Oh, really? You worked there?
Yes, well, in the central station's bar.
Well, it is too.
The security was very good. They shouldn't have closed it.
That's fine, thank you very much. Well, we're managing to talk to more people with a worker from the nuclear plant, even if it was outside the cafeteria. But just so you can imagine, it wasn't just the technicians, engineers, and so on who lived here, but all the workers who worked here. There could be thousands of them. They stayed here and were given an apartment. And a lot of people moved between regions of the Soviet Union looking for new and better opportunities when new projects like this one happened and were built. They're Russian, right? Did they work at the plant?
Yes, we worked there. In 1978, they gave us our first house and we lived there.
Are you the first residents?
Well, not exactly. There were people who arrived in 75. And they're still alive, but they don't have much time left.
What was life like with the plant?
When the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics was around, electricity was cheaper, and now in Lithuania it's more expensive. This month, for example, I paid 48 euros for electricity.
Was everything cheaper in the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics?
It's hard to compare, but electricity was definitely cheaper, especially here. Electricity was even exported from here to other places. Even to Belarus, with which there's now a blockade, it seems that the Lithuanians are upset with them because they have them nearby.
Where did they come from? From which part of Russia?
From near St. Petersburg. Not from Siberia.
No, but there are many from there.
From Tyumen, from Krasnoyarsk.
I pass for a local from the Baltics. I walk calmly, and meanwhile they say, "Wow, rain again." And I tell them, "Where's the rain?"
Have you ever thought about going back to Russia?
Now we want to do it, but to go back you need capital.
Of course.
And also the pension.
And how is the pension here?
Honestly, I don't know about the others, but I don't have a bad pension.
We don't complain.
I've been retired since 1993. The government supports me, and I'm always following up with them.
Do they offend you for being Russian? Has anything happened?
No, that doesn't happen. Well, maybe once in a while.
If you've heard that here, it's just propaganda.
Sometime. Where are you from?
I'm Spanish.
Like Valery Karlamoy, the Soviet hockey player.
Here we don't get offended, everything's fine.
I had a Lithuanian friend. There was a rally for democracy here. And when we got back home, she said to me, "Valentin, I don't care what language we have to speak in. But understand me, if I go to the doctor and have to explain what's wrong with me, I can't do it in Russian." Her native language was Lithuanian, and for her the important thing was that they understood her in her own language at the doctor's office. Sometimes there are cases where people confront us and say, "So many years here and you still don't know the language." And the interesting thing is that we've learned it.
Did you learn Lithuanian?
Yes, and we finished the course. They say that we Russians are not interested. I don't know. Let's say I see a Lithuanian woman now and I want to speak to her in Lithuanian, but I say hello in Russian. I forget.
Is Lithuanian a difficult language?
No, everything's fine.
Here's a story to find out where someone is from. You have to step on their foot, and if they say swear words, it means they're Russian. Lithuanians don't do that.
What work did they do at the plant?
I worked in supplies, and my husband worked in the measurement and control service. He was all over the plant. He was even exposed to radiation.
Really? Does he still have radiation in his body?
I did, yes. They've already cleaned it all off me.
How do you clean that off?
They took me to the hospital and put some devices on me.
And iodine pills?
They gave them to me, but I threw them all away. They're useless. If you see a nuclear explosion, turn around and try to get charred little by little.
Have you never been scared?
No, not before and not now. Back then, they used to say, if something happens to you, cover yourself with a vinyl and slowly head to the cemetery. Nonsense.
Everything was very strict. There were places where you could only work for 15 minutes.
You had to follow the safety measures.
When you put on your work clothes, the room would indicate how long you could stay at most.
I understand. Everything was written down.
Yes, and the staff monitored the workers' radiation all the time, and the supervisor would write it down.
Very interesting talk. A pleasure. Have a good day.
And greetings to Spain.
I'm already on my way back to Latvia after visiting the Soviet city, the one in Lithuania, which they built for the nuclear power plant. And I just left Daugavpils a while ago, and now I'm heading to Keltini, a military city that also hits Soviet missiles here in Latvia. And while I'm traveling through this part of Latvia, which is closer to the border with Belarus and Russia, here between 20 and 30% of the population, even 40% depending on the region or city, is ethnically Russian. During the Russian Empire and later during the Soviet Union, the Russification of Estonia and Latvia was stronger than in Lithuania. In Lithuania, women had a higher fertility rate than Russian women, which is why the ethnic Russian community barely developed there. However, in Latvia and Estonia, the Russian ethnic group came to make up almost 40%. During Soviet times, of the total population, meaning they almost replaced the original population of these lands. The Latvian government during the 90s established quotas, and the Estonian government did as well, for obtaining Latvian citizenship. And one of the conditions was to learn the Latvian language.
But later, when they wanted to join the European Union told them that this quota system was not compatible with European regulations.
So those strict rules were relaxed a bit, and currently Estonia and Latvia have practically 20 to 25% of their population ethnically Russian. This is the worst kind of road I've come across here in the Baltics, with little stones, and you have to go 30 kilometers per hour, damn. Damn, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Well, that's it. I finally made it. After 3 hours behind the wheel, here we are. You can still see the remains of the buildings. There are the sandbags and a car is coming over there, so I'm going to move mine. At the end of World War II, the arms race triggered by the Cold War led the Soviets, and especially Soviet scientists, to develop a lot of missiles capable of carrying nuclear warheads.
There were a total of 12 bases of this kind in what is now Latvia.
A large number of military personnel brought from all parts of the Soviet Union arrived at these bases to be ready at any moment to launch a nuclear attack in defense or in response to one from the United States, which led the world to a situation of extreme tension and imminent nuclear danger. This huge bunker in this huge military base, there were 3 of these bunkers here. And that's where the intercontinental ballistic missiles were kept, so they would stay at a low temperature, and all the military personnel made sure they worked properly. Right now it's closed. I imagine they only accept private visits. Here you have it, locked up tight. There you go, number 3. I've read that it only took 3 hours to assemble a nuclear warhead from the moment the alarm was given until it was fully assembled. There are still remains here in the forest, blocks or concrete pillars, which I imagine all of this was fenced, barbed wire. It reminds me of the base. Well, the nuclear missile silo we saw in Lithuania, I imagine this would be more of the same. A lot of barbed wire, a lot of guards, everything in maximum secrecy. In the middle of the forest, as you can see, we're in the middle of the forest, which makes it practically undetectable. And back there, I see a monument. Let's see if you know who it is. I'm going to get closer now. I was wrong. It wasn't 3 hangars, but 4. I also wondered how they launched the missiles from here. Well, in each hangar nearby, there was a mobile launch platform, and here we have it. This is the biggest bust of Lenin I've ever seen. It's huge. Look, almost 3 meters. And right here, a monolith dedicated to the soldiers of the Baltic Front, the Soviet soldiers. And here, next to Lenin, there are also other busts. I think they are political figures, leaders of the communist parties here in Latvia. Since the territory is basically this, the 4 hangars, 4, 5, 6 streets, and that's it. And here there are still some remains. I don't know if it was to place the launch platforms or what. It looks like this was a launch platform, I mean a space reserved for the launch platform. right in front of the hangar, which is over there on the other side of the trees. Near the hangar, just a few meters away, we have the place from where the order to launch the missiles was given. Well, there were 2 soldiers. I don't know if you can see it, this camera doesn't catch much, but anyway, in here, which is already half destroyed. It was from here that the soldiers, 2 soldiers simultaneously, had to press a button at the same time, and there was also an officer who acted as a psychologist. It was in case the soldier couldn't press the button, to coerce or encourage him to do it. But it had to be 2 soldiers at the same time, so that the missile launch couldn't be activated deliberately by just one person. Here we have another one of the 4 hangars. If you look closely, it was covered with weeds on top and was practically undetectable. And this is what a bunker looked like from the inside. Well, this is the hangar where the soldiers were. Look, they were ready. This is how it looked. It was made with high-quality cement to withstand a blast wave. They were here. Wow. A lot of compartments. Look, an old phone? Or what seems to be what's left of it. Wow, look, I don't know if you can see it with the camera, but there's the mushroom cloud from the nuclear explosion. I don't know what it says. Warning signs. It looks like messages. Look at the planes. This is from that time, huh? What happens is that a lot of the paint has already come off. And look here, the controller. And the missile launch platform in the forest. It says, combat missions for maintaining the cable and communication nodes are missions of special importance. And there was direct communication with Moscow. Look, it continues over here, so it must be about 50 meters. Off hangar? With a bunch of compartments over here, the Soviet pipes. All of this was the communications room, the communications hangar, and also the missile launch control from here. Damn, I'm falling. Oh my god. It gives you goosebumps. Look from the outside how it looked with the vent there. Back to the car. Well, that's it. This has been the tour of the secret missile launch base. Honestly, I was surprised. You know, if you're interested in this kind of thing, here it is, in Latvia, in rural Latvia. And now for the moment, I'm going to head toward the next destination. See you? See you.